suck shapes? Oh wait, who suck at shapes? Somehow, they just seem to elude you. In that case, save this paper for later. What is it about this paper and shapes? Find out in today's episode of PPR! Alright, welcome back to another video. This is your love from Vantage Tutor, a class above the rest. This paper is for the E Math students. It is from 2023 St. Anthony's Canossian Secondary School, E Math Paper 1. Now before I go into the details, these are the questions that I feel are slightly more insightful and probably worth your time to try. And for students who are interested to try this paper, you are invited to join my Telegram channel where I've uploaded a short summary along with a download link available on my blog. Have a go at it, let me know how you did. Most E Math papers are not too different from each other, and usually I look for small details in there that will make them stand out at least a bit, and this paper has done that. Why? Find out via my 3 matrices. Number 1, relevance. Number 2, insightfulness. Number 3, difficulty, before I give an overall score and recommend to you the type of students who should try this paper. And of course, if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, what would be a fair expectation of him from me in order for him to score an A in his actual O-levels? Firstly, relevance. Most of the time for E Math papers, there really isn't much to say about relevance. Very little room for creativity, very little room for deviance. Most of it is what you expect to see in your Prelim papers or your past year O-level papers. Nothing too spectacular about it, but I do see some parts that are a bit different in terms of the number of explanation questions. The amount of writing you have to do on top of just calculation is slightly more in this paper. But beyond that, flow of questions, mark allocation, the topics you're expecting to see in paper 1, they are all there. Nothing much to really say about the relevance apart from the fact that it will be given a very solid score of 7 out of 10. Next, insightfulness. Usually, I'm looking for creative questions or simply questions that requires a bit more explanation on your end rather than calculation. And this paper actually done that. On top of the usual why the graph is misleading kind of explanation, there's also about your shapes and also about angles, and therefore you are going to learn from doing such questions. Very often you can solve them, but can you really put in the words? That's another issue. Beyond that, if you look very carefully at some of the questions, there are small details in there that if you do not look carefully, for example in the shape, you may have completely solved the question in the wrong direction. And in general, I feel that this paper's strength is clearly in the measuration part. In terms of measuring the height, in terms of a shape, a cone, anything to do with shapes or calculation of tangible measurements is a creative question in this paper. They look a bit different, and for those that may seem a bit familiar to you, it's because you've seen them in higher end Prelim papers. And hence, by doing this paper, you are going to be exposed to the slightly more creative questions, slightly more insightful questions, at least in terms of measuration, at least in terms of construction, at least in terms of angles. And hence, the insightfulness of this paper will be given a very solid 7.5 out of 10. As for difficulty, most of you will expect E Math papers to not be too difficult, and this paper tends to become more difficult towards the back when the measuration comes up, in the sense that the first few pages where it concerns algebra, percentage, ratio, those parts you will just breeze through them. They don't make it frivolously hard, they don't make it unnecessarily tedious for you. But then the questions gets harder when it comes down to measuration, when it comes down to calculation of height, volume. Those are the questions that are going to hinder you as you move through the paper. And for students who don't take A Math, you may struggle for a bit, but there should be no issue in completing the paper with a very respectable score. And hence, the difficulty of this paper will be given a slightly above average 7 out of 10. Overall, it is clear there is a theme in this paper. The theme in this paper is clearly on measuration with a bit of explanation here and there. Like most E Math papers, they are going to be rather routine for you. They are going to be rather a gauge of how well you can score rather than whether you can pass. For students who take A Math, this paper is going to seem rather fair with a bit of spiciness. For the students who are not so inclined in math, you are going to face some challenges, but at the most general level, it is a very decent paper for you. And hence, the overall score of this paper will be given also a very respectable score of 7 out of 10. And if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, a fair expectation of her from me would be 75% in order for her to score an A in her actual O-levels. Finally, who do I recommend this paper to? I recommend this paper to students who are particularly weak in measuration, or for students who want to be better, who wants to gain insight or be exposed to more creative measuration questions in your E-Math. This paper really doesn't offer much in terms of the first half of it when it comes to algebra and your basic topics of ratio, percentage, whatever it is. But when it goes towards the back, when it comes down to measuring angles, when it comes down to construction, when it comes down to volume, shapes, area, this is where this paper shines. This is where this paper will give you a bit more problems and will help you learn and stretch you further such that you can achieve your goal for the O-levels. Regardless whether you're taking A Math or not, you should be getting a very respectable score for this paper, and hence, if you are a student who is looking to practice on the major core topics of your E Math syllabus of measuration, trigonometry, angles in circles, or just shapes in general, this paper would be for you. Alright, so we have come to the end of this prelim paper review of 2023 St. Anthony's Canossian Secondary School E-Math Paper 1. Now if you like what I'm doing, follow me on TikTok, like my video, comment, and share it with your friends. I'm sure this will help them because ultimately, I'm on my way to 10,000 followers. Now if you are a student who is looking to try this paper, you are invited to join my Telegram channel where I've uploaded a short summary along with a download link available on my blog. Have a go at it, let me know how you did. Nothing else, this is your love from Vantage Tutor, a class above the rest. Take care.